Hello, hello, hello! Welcome back to the stream, everyone. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Let's see if anyone follows me. Okay. Welcome back to the stream. Today, we are going to be completing the third of the 3 streets in Wizard City. So we will be doing Firecat Alley. Also today, we'll be discussing possibilities for our character Allura Dawnfriend's origins, her sort of story, how did she get in Wizard City, why is she doing this, and what the implications from a narrative standpoint of our particular play style has on the story. So without further ado, let's get into the game. Okay. My thing disappeared. That's odd. Oh, it might be because I recently rebranded slightly. I am no longer Penguinman7707, now I am the Malevolent Sun. Don't forget the Malevolent Sun. That's me. The dark star in the sky. Well, not dark. And quite bright. So bright it turns fertile valleys into deserts. I don't know. That's kind of edgy. But we're getting back into Wizard101. So, Allura Dawnfriend. Where is she from? Who is she? What is she doing? Why does she exist? Well, she's an enchanter. And for those of you who don't know the names of certain schools of magic, enchanter essentially means a sun school wizard. And I like to picture that we are from Avalon. We were an enchanter in Avalon who practiced sun magic under the guidance of the Lady of the Lake. This is just an idea I'm throwing out there. We're going to play with some more before the stream's done. And under the guidance of the Lady of the Lake, we crafted ourselves a golem of sorts. But unlike typical golems, it is not alive, it is not animated by magic. Rather, it is just temporarily enchanted to come to life. And that golem is our locomotion. So, we use sun magic to conjure our locomotion out of parts of scrap metal we carry around with us. And since it's a locomotion, it's enchanted, not truly alive, it's a bit harder to control. Having us require to actually command it to do something. So, for instance, you would have to command it to attack in order to attack. And that exhausts some of our own magic, because we are spending magic towards enchanting the golem to make it attack. Every action it takes a bit of our own reserves, besides basic defending itself. We grew up in Avalon, and were taught by the Lady of the Lake the art of sun magic. When the crisis befell Wizard City, the Lady of Lake sent us to aid Merle Ambrose in repelling the undead. And that's why we're here. We're not actually a student of Ravenwood, although we do take some balance classes just to fit in. But we are here for the sole purpose of aiding the city guard and such in defending Wizard City from the undead menace. Narratively, a lot of things in the game are implied. We're the only one capable of doing it. We're maybe the destined one, but we, ourselves, are weak. Only able to fight through the power of our locomotion. So this would make a lot of narrative arcs in the game play out a bit differently. So for an example, in the Crocosphinx, which we're going to get to later, there's a whole arc where a little tournament arc, a little fight all of the champions so you can fight the ultimate champion and recruit them to your side. In that tournament arc, we are not the fighter. Our locomotion is the fighter. We would act more as the locomotion's sponsor. However, you can see that in multiple ways, like, is the conjurer the fighter if they're conjuring? Is the enchanter the fighter if their enchanted minion does the fighting? I'd say, nah. Narratively, this wouldn't impact the story very much. The wizard's still doing the wizard things. But I do see it causing a lot of narrative dissonance, which is why I'm often skipping the dialogue, because this particular run, this particular playstyle, doesn't really lend itself to the narrative of the game. Beyond that, I don't have much of a story for Allura. I haven't gotten a lot of chance to think up one. Haven't got a lot of a chance at all to think up one, actually. So this has become a bit, like, problem-y. Like, I said I'd think up of a story and we'd talk about it today, but I've already shared the whole story I have, and we've only beaten one haunted minion. Let's see, maybe I can become one of those, here's some anecdotes from my life, sort of streamers, while I play video games. But I want to keep myself rooted in the Wizard101, in the game I'm playing, in the story that is there. Law. I'm thinking that what should we discuss? What should we discuss? Oh, I missed a few things in my the darkest timeline. Mainly, I didn't pay a lot of attention to the 4 dungeons storyline, or the Lost Pages storyline. And I also overlooked a lot of repercussions of including the 5 boxes timeline in my last timeline. So let's start with the simplest solution here, or the simplest question here, rather. Let's start with Lost Pages. Chances are, in the destruction of Wizard City, were the lost soul to defeat the wizard. The wizards would never find the Book of Lost Pages. The Book of Lost Pages would never possess the wizards, but chances are powerful undead, such as Foulgaze, the Harvest Lord, Rattlebones, people like that, would likely instead recover the Book of Lost Pages. And instead of scattering across the worlds, likely the undead would be more one with the power of the Lost Pages. So not only would the undead gobbler threat in Wizard City be problematic, it would also have spellwrit creatures everywhere. Lost Pages would just increase that problem drastically. Should they reach Mushu, there's gonna be a lot more problems. Because Mushu, in the darkest timeline, as we discussed earlier, Mushu is dealing with becoming the villain. And since Mushu's becoming the villain, if the Lost Pages took root there, it might actually quell some things. Because instead of the Oni controlling everything, you'd also have the Lost Pages trying to wrestle for control. But there's also a chance that the Lost Pages would join forces with the Oni and make things worse. Although chances are the Lost Pages will be limited to the gobblers and undead of Wizard City. Pardon me, I've got some burps. So, in that event, it would be win some, lose some. Chances are the Lost Pages would never be put back, because the library would be overtaken. Lots of drama and chaos. Lost Pages getting out spells disaster. What can I say? Next thing we need to consider, I'd say the next most important thing, is the 4 dungeons. Because going over the rest of the 5 boxes is gonna be big. Chances are the Crocs themselves would restore balance to Zigazag. Because the Crocs have taken over, and they don't want their gods being messed with by a lesser one of their gods. That's what I think would happen. Either that, or they'd revere Amit as the new king of the gods instead of, say, Ra. Continuing on, I think Kalamba, without the wizards there to intervene, the Oni, or I don't know if it is an Oni, the being trapped in Changrava would be freed by the hoof. And this would likely just feed into Mushu evil. Although if the best thing happens, which it likely won't because this is the worst timeline, if the greatest thing happens, the demon trapped in Changrava would challenge the Jade Oni and his forces, and we would have some infighting between demonic forces in Mushu. You'd have the hoof and this demon on one side, and you'd have the Jade Oni and the undead on the other. So there's maybe a slightly better thing, but I think they'd more likely join forces, personally. Next thing we have to discuss is Marleybone. Chances are Sherlock Bones could solve what's going on in Marleybone without us. He just used some constable to help out instead of us helping out. I don't think we're needed in Barkingham Palace dungeons. I think Sherlock Bones would have had it covered. I think we're just some sort of sidekick for him. It's my opinion. Not gonna change it. And Dark War simply wouldn't happen. There would be no Kandavasi declared. As such, there would be no evil Malistaire, because Morganth would never resurrect Malistaire because she would never have a need to. That's actually kind of good for Malistaire. I think it's kind of good for Malistaire, personally. Because he gets to live happily in the afterlife with his wife Sylvia. I think. Now let's go onward to the 5 boxes. First box. Flamilla doesn't become the head of the Fire School. Chances are, she'd just fail at her studies at ICE and either get expelled or graduate with barely passing grades. Don't think it'll work out for her. Just don't. The chances are that won't affect the timeline very much. It will simply... we'll simply have a different fire professor. Second box. I kind of forget what the order of the boxes is. So let me look that up real quick. I believe the second box is Marleybone. The Marleybone box. I don't remember the story of that one. I need to look that up, because this might be important. Telegraph box, Marleybone. I'm sorry. I thought I was prepared to discuss this. I was not. I'm looking it up while questing. Wiki doesn't have a good synopsis of the story. So let's look up 5 boxes story. Okay, Final Bastion never lets me down. Okay, Marleybone box storyline. A young Hellstrom Baelstrom has been falsely accused of stealing the Opal of Ojai. Okay, again, we just have a different professor in Wizard City. Wizard City would still fall. It wouldn't make much of a difference. Might even fall faster. This is the Maestro scheming to become the next professors. So we might just have the Maestro as a professor. Which... if the Maestro is a professor, is a teacher at Ravenwood, perhaps Ravenwood might not fall, but I don't think that's likely. And chances are, with the Mushu box, Maestro schemes to become the next Death Professor after Malistaire leaves. So, Dworgen wouldn't come tend the Death School. So, likely, we'd just have Malorn Ashthorn, who'd be forced to step up a bit, since Dworgen can't teach. And since Dworgen can't teach, I think Malorn would just have to step up. Really, that's my personal opinion, and you really can't. I don't think it's gonna move. I guess I could consider maybe if the Maestro became a teacher at Ravenwood, Wizard City might not fall. But I think the probability of that is kind of low. Personally. I've said that 10 times. Next box is a Pirates in Skull Island. I've discussed the Skull Island box. No wizard, no pirate. 5 boxes Avalon. This is where things get interesting. So, in this time, Cyrus and Malistaire Drake are kind of nobodies, and Sylvia is the Grand General of Dragonspire. It's also heavily implied that Sylvia stopped the summoning of the Dragon Titan that destroyed Dragonspire in the first place. So likely, Dragonspire would be a powerhouse militarily and magically. And without the wizards to intervene, the Professor probably wouldn't succeed, and Dragonspire might just take over the spiral. And if this were to happen, this one box, the wizard failing at this one box, creates a cascade through key events so much to the point it would be irrecognizable. So, this isn't part of the darkest timeline. Let's call this the Maestro timeline. So we've discussed the darkest timeline, now let's discuss the Maestro timeline. In the Maestro timeline, Sylvia Drake is the General of Dragonspire, Cyrus is a painter, and Malistaire is... What was Malistaire doing? I don't know. But Sylvia Drake would take over. Sylvia Drake would lead the armies of Dragonspire across the spiral. It'd probably conquer almost everywhere. In this timeline, Malistaire never falls in love with Sylvia. Or maybe does, but they break up. I don't know. But Malistaire would never do any of the things he did. So the Crocs would never wake up. So we wouldn't have the Croc nonsense. We wouldn't have the evil Mushu. Mushu would likely just fall to Sylvia, just normally in war. Marleybone would likely fall to Sylvia, because they have an insistence on not using magic that I find kind of kooky. But, you know, Marleybonians be Marleybonians. Wizard City would be conquered by Malistaire, and likely become a branch of the Dragonspirian school of magic. They probably just teach Dragonspire magic there, which is just more an advanced militaristic form of the magic that's taught at Ravenwood. In this timeline, Wizard City becomes a surrogate of Dragonspire, and just Dragonspire conquers the world. Key point in this universe, that the existence of this universe hinges on the wizard dying in the original universe. But if this universe existed, lost souls would never plague a Unicorn Way, which likely means the wizard wouldn't die. Thus, we either need to deal with the time paradox, or just say this is a parallel timeline that was branched off of the original timeline as a result of the wizard being dead. So, depending on what version of time travel you deal with, either the universe collapses in on itself because the wizard has to be dead, or we have a different version of the wizard. This time, a loyal student of the Dragonspire military. Probably this version of the wizard would be Fire. Probably. No guarantees, though. And that wizard would likely follow the orders of, instead of Headmaster Ambrose, likely follow the orders of a Dragonspirian headmaster, who wouldn't have them solve the same problems. But I have no doubt that Dragonspire would recognize the potential of the wizard. I also don't think they would harm Bartleby. I think they would... then Bartleby would be fine. Maybe? I mean, to have the Great Tree of Magic is a great honor. So, likely, the wizard would discover the scion of Bartleby much sooner, because Bartleby would have both of his eyes. Because Magister would never steal his eye, give it to the Cabal, and give it to the Cabal. So, the wizard would discover he's the scion of Bartleby much sooner. Morganth would never become evil, because I doubt Dragonspire has the same rules against practicing shadow magic and astral magic that Merle did. I think they would think it's just a military advantage. The wizard, depending on... Now, in this timeline, it's a lot of speculation. We might as well be writing a fanfic. So, in this timeline, the Dragonspire General of Wizard City sends the wizard out on routine patrols throughout the spiral. One day, while patrolling claimed territories, or when invading Chrysalis after graduation. So, we might encounter Grandfather Spider, and we might free him. Depends on what orders we receive from Dragonspire High Command, but chances are, I completely passed who I'm supposed to talk to. Chances are, we would free Grandfather Spider in this timeline. Would we free Grandmother Raven? I feel like Dragonspire has a healthy respect for divinity, although the way they treated the Fire Titan probably would prove me wrong. The question is, who would win in a war Would Grizzleheim win, or would Dragonspire win? I'd wager Dragonspire the victory. Likely, Dragonspire would stop the Raven's plan of awakening the Ice Titan, because Sylvia Drake stopped the original plan of awakening the Fire Titan, so likely they learned that's a bad plan. So they're going to stop the awakening of the Fire Titan, as such free Grandmother Raven, and later down the line, the wizard would free Grandfather Spider, and I feel like a lot of the events would follow the same. Just instead of the Arcanum or Wizard City dealing stuff, so Arc 1 and Arc 2, which is the Morganth Arc and the Morganth Arc and the Malistaire Arc, likely just don't happen. Just don't happen. Circumstances would cause the wizard, who is already known to be the scion of Bartleby, to free Grandfather Spider, and likely Arc 3 would happen slightly differently. Grandfather Spider and Grandmother Raven would likely be either imprisoned or mitigated by Dragonspire and used in their conquest of the Spiral. If not, well, the Cabal might still exist. And if the Cabal's around, and Grandfather Spider then groups up with the Cabal, and his 3 sons are freed, chaos reigns, we all go to Imperia, this time as an agent of Dragonspire instead of the Arcanum. Of course, we're not just here to stop this interdimensional war, no. We're also here to colonize new lands on behalf of the Great Dragonspire Empire. Maybe. We would still become the Divine Paradox because it is the Scion of Bartleby's destiny to do so. We would attract the Nothing. I don't think the Cabal or the Arcanum would survive against Dragonspire, so likely Lemuria would perish, fade into nothingness as its mana and health depletes to nothing. I'm an idiot. I forgot to cast. I forgot to cast 2 turns in a row. Wow. I'm dumb. But I believe that Lemuria would fall, cavities would open up, likely not in Caramel, because I don't picture the Dragonspire regime to be much for sweets, but who knows? How dystopian is Dragonspire? That's a question. I don't know if we're going to get an answer to it. I don't know if we're going to get an answer to that at all. But likely the Nothing would first be drawn to the wizard in Dragonspire. The cavities would start showing up there. I don't know where the story would evolve from that. We know the Nothing would show up. He likely would never name himself the Sign, because he'd never see the recording of the old one that did that. Lemuria would die off. You know what I think would be fun? Is if the Nothing, instead of eating the old one, ate Sylvia Drake, the evil Sylvia Drake. So this timeline would have an evil Sylvia, no, a nothing Sylvia Drake, whose sole desire, instead of saving Lemuria, is conquering the Spiral. The Nothing might be eviler than Sylvia could ever be, but the question is, would Dragonspire recognize the Nothing as an extension of what Sylvia was? Likely, Novus would never happen, because the World Synthesizer would never be discovered, and the Nothing would learn about his powers in a different way. The Manticore. What's the Manticore doing in all this? Well, I picture the Manticore would try to lead a resistance against Dragonspire. Is the hero of the Spiral in eons past, so he might try to be some heroism again. We don't know if he'll succeed. He probably won't. I'm sorry. This is a dark timeline. all the timelines we're gonna discuss is gonna be dark. What have I? Oh, yeah. Let's see, what would happen next? I didn't do a lot of thought into the Sylvia timeline, or sorry, the Maestro timeline. It wasn't a lot of thought put into it. I apologize for how much of a shitpost it sounds like, but it would be interesting to see that potential for a world. Now, let's see. And another thing that I overlooked a lot in both of my alternate timelines that you might criticize me for because it might be your favorite world. It was my favorite world at a point, is Aquila. Aquila doesn't matter. It's just a tournament arc. It would probably be destroyed in the clash between the Titans or conquered by Dragonspire. That's all there is to it. Probably not going to be much different. It's like, why didn't I mention Cool Ranch? Cool Ranch doesn't have any bearing. Oh. What to do, what to do, what to die today to do. I think what's another fun possible alternate to discuss? Let's see. Another possible alternate Wizard101 timeline. Morganth wins? The Morganth wins timeline? I discussed this earlier. I don't think the Morganth wins timeline would be very interesting. Morganth, one of her key features is she doesn't know how things work very well. She has trouble keeping Chrysalis together. I doubt she'd be able to keep the whole spiral together. Likely, her winning would just result in some worlds shifting positions, her being at the center of everything, but I don't think much would change. I don't think Morganth knows as much of the spiral as she thinks she does, and her rewriting the spiral in her own image probably wouldn't make much or any of a difference. If you think I'm wrong, feel free to just debate it in the comments or in chat. But theoretically, I'm going to go all theory crafting on this. If Morganth were to win and did know about the spiral, or was knowledgeable about the spiral rather, how would that be different? Honestly, we don't know enough about Morganth to know how exactly she'd change things. We know she's selfish, she's narcissistic. I think the biggest difference is, first off, she'd put herself in a godlike position. She'd be the one above all. The godlike entity who ruled the spiral. But honestly, I think a lot of her ruling of the spiral would be delegation. She wouldn't command as much of it as I think she'd like to believe she would. Either that, or she's secretly very competent, which I doubt is the case. If Morganth is secretly very competent, that would be shocking. Although it would be neat to know that. Like, first off, she'd make herself the center of everything. Two, probably some dystopia vibes. She's, not a good person. But in her ideal world, no one would betray her or defy her, so she likely would be a... The thing is, now this isn't advice, do not listen to me if you are in a situation with someone like Morganth, but from what I've seen, typically, if you just do what a tyrant asks, they're less likely to betray you. And in a world where no one can defy the tyrant, or no one even thinks of defying the tyrant would likely be a pretty good person, because they wouldn't have need to lash back at you. Their every whim and desire would be fulfilled. I don't think a world with Morganth rewriting it would actually be all that bad. It'd be slightly different, but I don't think it's the big threat everyone thought it was. I mean, it's not a good idea, I'll give them that. We don't want Morganth in control of anything, that's just a horrible idea. But, if we had no other option, the wizard dying in Arc 1 is worse than Morganth's winning. Morganth winning is a better timeline than the darkest timeline we discussed last video. Now, I'm gonna out myself for a moment. I haven't beaten Novus yet. I haven't even beaten Lemuria yet. I have someone I quest with who's been offline for quite a while, so I haven't been able to progress, and they assure me that they will go questing with me later, at some point, but I'm not allowed to progress on my max level without them because I play the game explicitly with them. And if I were to play it without them, that would just be kind of rude. So I'm not in a place to speculate what's going to happen in X upcoming world. But I will discuss some things I want to happen in a gameplay perspective, not in a narrative perspective. I know narrative is really where I shine, but I'm going to discuss what I want in future updates for the game, because maybe someone in KI will watch one of these streams or videos, and maybe they'll listen. Chances are they won't, but here's what I want. Give us a damage over time, or a healing shadow creature spell. Is that too much to ask for? I think it might be too much to ask for. They might just hate me for asking that. But I feel like it's something we need. I feel like the Shadow community, which is likely just me, to be honest, would greatly appreciate some damage over time options, or some healing options. For a spell that we can cast, you know, standard 2 Shadow Pip healing spell, or 2 Shadow Pip damage over time spell. Formatted kinda similarly to the Dark Nova, Dark Fiend, Dark Shepherd that we got now. You don't have to make this, you probably won't, but that's something I would greatly like. Another thing I'd like is, if you're not going to unban shadow spells from PvP, please make a dedicated shadow version. A dedicated PvP version of shadow spells for PvP. Like you do for the Scion spells. I don't feel like that's too much to ask, personally. Like, if they're trying to encourage new playstyles other than just AoE, other than just blade stack AoE hit, banning the fun alternative playstyles like Shadow Magic and Sun Magic isn't beneficial to what you're trying to do there. I think they're trying to remove having a more complex identity from a character. If you're a balance wizard, you do balance things. If you're a sun wizard, you can't be. That's how I feel they're doing. They don't want you to focus on tertiary schools. And honestly, I feel like they're trying to sweep tertiary schools under the rug, like, what? That never existed. I might be wrong. There might be new Shadow and Sun spells upcoming in Wallaroo. If there are, I sure hope there are. But I don't know, that's just, that's what I'd like. Probably won't get it. Not gonna complain if I don't. So, let's see, what else can I discuss? I oft run out of ideas and just sit there pondering what to talk about today. Sorry, something in my hands that I'm bothering with. I used to... So, I didn't think there was anything wrong at the time. I still don't think what I was doing was wrong. But some people have called me out for it, and I'm not gonna argue. A while back, a couple months ago, maybe more than a couple months ago, I had a strange goal on my max level wizard. I wanted to reach 0 elo in ranked PvP. I wanted to be the absolute bottom of the bracket. I thought, that sounded like a fun idea. Play fight, do ranked PvP fights, and intentionally lose. So I built a deck that had one spell in it. That deck had nothing but a single Shadow Blade item card. And I had Blast. I went in, ranked PvP match, like, behold my ultimate move, Shadow Blade, and then the match would end. I was having a blast. And a lot of people thought it was hilarious what I was doing and applauded my whole goal for reaching the bottom of the rankings, 0 elo. However, some people accused me of boosting. Now, to me, there's a difference between what I was doing and boosting. To me. But I don't know if there is in KI's view, a difference. To me, what I was doing was having a bit of fun, playing the game in the way I wanted to play it. I would join a match, I would lose it, I would see that number go down, it was incredibly satisfying, I had a lot of fun. I wasn't considering that I was artificially impacting the rankings of other players who were trying to win and lose and compete. I Still don't think what I was doing was boosting. I don't think there was a problem with what I was doing. I think what I was doing was perfectly fine and valid. Because my goal wasn't to boost, my goal wasn't to artificially inflate rankings. I wasn't intentionally going against anyone. I was just going with whatever the random matchmaking placed me with, and losing. And it was fun. I had fun. I was trying to get the lowest ranking you can get, and it was a blast. But someone accused me of boosting. My friends told me to stop doing it. I reached out to KI and asked, hey, is doing this boosting? And they were incredibly vague about it. They neither confirmed nor denied what I was doing was boosting. Let me outright read their email to me. One moment while I pull it up. Okay, here's... Hello! As per terms of use. Specifically, you agree to not do any of the following. 13. Engage in any other conduct that restricts or inhibits anyone's use of or enjoyment of the site, or which, as determined by the company, may harm the company or users of the site, or expose them to liability. In regards, King's Isle Support. P.S. To view our terms of use, please visit the following. They were basically just telling me, check the terms of service. And I'm like, the terms of service say nothing about what I was doing, and the exact passage of the terms of service you quoted at me did not deny or support what I was doing as wrong. It just said, don't ruin other people's playing. And I didn't think I was. If anything, I thought the people I went against would be happy for the, well, random boost, I guess. So I guess it is boosting, but, like, that wasn't my intent behind it. I wasn't malicious. No one was paying me. One thing that happened in the, whole PvP situation that was in, one thing that happened was someone I went against, someone was spectating the match, and they accused me of boosting, they accused the person I was playing against of paying me to boost them, and I was like, I've never met this person in my life, and they were like, yeah, right, booster. And I re-queued, and then the next fight, I was against the person who accused me of boosting, and I lost to them intentionally. And they panicked. They yelled at me for saying I'm trying to frame them for boosting, and I'm a horrible person, and I'm just getting back at them for accusing them of for them accusing me of boosting, and I wasn't trying to boost. I was just losing on purpose, because I thought it was fun. Now, I don't know what people think of that. If you think I was boosting, let me know. If you think I'm in the right and I was just playing the game in a way that I thought was fun, let me know. To be fair, there's a bit of, I know I can likely never win, so if I can't be the best at winning, I'm going to be the best at losing. That's my thought. That's what I was doing. KI, I never got reported for it. I never got a warning or a ban for it. So, I'm safe. But my friends warned me to knock it off and told me KIs might be cracking down on that sort of stuff. So, I decided to stop doing it. I would probably still be doing it today, and I'd be having fun doing it. But apparently that's not allowed. And again, I don't even know if that's not allowed. KI was, again, incredibly vague. They were just don't break the terms of service. And I was like, yes, but the terms of service say nothing about this. And it was just... it was a mess. I stopped doing it, and actually took a hiatus from the game after that, because waiting for my friend to get back online, that was all I could do. And it's not like I was going into team matches where I was causing my team to lose. It was strictly 1v1 PvP. I don't think I was in the wrong. I don't know what the community thinks. I personally would like to resume doing that, but I'm not going to, because I don't want to risk my account being banned. Chances are it was a time. I'd love to know what people think. Was I boosting? Was it unfair for the people playing in ranked PvP at the time? I don't know. I have a lot of problems with PvP. I have a lot of problems with people who have the opinion that there is only one right way to play a game. For instance, this challenge here. I wouldn't even put the word challenge to it. I'm just playing the game differently. I'm just doing something that people normally don't do. It's not a challenge. It's not any more difficult, but some people are like, I don't see the purpose of these ridiculous challenges you do. And I'm like, it's not a challenge, it's just playing the game differently. Let's say, for instance, you have a pack of playing cards. There are 100 different games you can play with playing cards. Is there any one right way to play with playing cards? I would argue there is no right way to play with playing cards. One person could play solitaire and enjoy playing solitaire. They're not playing the game wrong just because they aren't playing poker. You understand what I'm saying? I hope you understand what I'm saying. A game is a game, and it's there for the players to have fun, and also for the developers of the game to make money. I don't think, as long as you don't cheat, as long as you don't go into the game and ruin the fun for other people, if you're just playing the game you want to play, I don't think anyone should have a problem with that. A lot of people say I'm wrong. I'd like to know what your guys' opinions on the matter. Not just the was I boosting matter, I want to know, do you guys agree with me? There's no such thing as a wrong way to play a game? Or am I crazy and you can definitely play a game wrong? It's just, I'd like to know what the consensus is on that. In other news, we're almost done with Firecat Alley, which means time's almost up for today. But Well, I want to see some people go into my comment sections on my previous videos on my YouTube channel and comment some ideas for things we can talk about. Things you want to get my opinions on, things you want to just hear about. I know a good bit of the lore of this game, and the lore I don't know I can easily look up. So, just let me know. Okay? In the ending minutes we have here, I want to talk about just sort of a spell I've thought of. Let's discuss a spell I've thought of. Like how you get this spell, and what does the spell do? This spell is called Stellar Expansion. It is a Sun School spell that can be spellamented and is learned via spellaments and can be upgraded 2 times for 3 spots. You get the spellaments for this spell from fighting Lufulum enemies. If it's an enemy that's a Lufulum, be it Omen, be it Vigilant Sargoon, they all have a chance to drop Stellar Expansion spells. Alternatively, you can get it from a pack I'm gonna think up over the time called the Last Vigil Horde Pack. Or the Last Vigil Spellman Pack. Last Vigil Spellman Pack. So, what the spell does, at its earliest tier, unlock 75 spellments. It's got the same sort of spellment requirement tiers, so you unlock it at 75 spellments. But at its lowest tier, what it does is it costs 1 fire pip, 1 life pip, and 1 myth pip. What it does is convert 1 beneficial aura, 1 self-affecting beneficial aura to a global effect. Basically, you know a bubble that you put up from Star School turns it into a global bubble. So the spell does. It's a Sun School spell, it costs 1 fire pip, 1 life pip, 1 myth pip. When you upgrade it, it goes from those 3 pips to 3 normal pips instead of needing power pips. You just need 3 pips. It goes from a rank 0, 3 school pip spell to a rank 3 no school pip spell. And then the final time you upgrade it, it goes to 0 cost, rank 0. You have to have an active Star School aura already up when you cast it. But when you cast it and you have an active Star School aura up, you can make everyone under the effect of that Star School aura. And I picture it has you teleport into the middle with the aura and just sort of channel the power and grow the aura bigger. That star is now a sun, baby, which is why it's called a Sun School spell. What level am I? Level 10! Okay, next stream, we're gonna go over some big changes in how we play the game. Because we're gonna do a little stitch to our outfit. We're gonna equip the robe I mentioned from earlier. And we're gonna go out there and hit with a new Locomaton-based playstyle. So I'm gonna do a lot of leveling up. Next level, a lot of questing. So we're not questing. We're gonna be doing some miscellaneous, mostly school quests We're going to be stitching our outfit. We're going to be doing all that. So I will go to our favorite guy in Old Town and leave you at him after we turn in the quest. And then we'll be done for today, and tomorrow we'll be going into upgrading our playstyle and making the game easier for us. And we're also going to be completing the quests that occupy the interim between the 3 streets and the haunted cave. So I'm gonna go to my little camera here. Thank you all for watching. It's been great. I hope you've all had a great time, and I will see you tomorrow.